science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
For newcomers and old-timers alike, the Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success. What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can we prevent illness, see the signs of disease before it's too late, and care for our birds through ill health? What light does behavioral science shed on their nature, needs, and hopes? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions? How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots, let them roam around about you and share a life with them? How much freedom do you give them? What happens if you form a bond of trust with them? Watch and see what understanding their true nature can do for you. Come with us on a journey as we do more than examine a parrot's world. We live in it. Make some popcorn and bring in a few wood blocks. Let everyone have something to chew and a comfortable place to perch. Cockatude is a presentation of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Hi, and welcome to Cockatude 53. Viewer questions and Coco squawking. No, viewer questions. Sweetie. We get a lot of questions, and I thought over the last month, well, why don't I just start saving them? So, most of our questions don't come in through our email at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org. We've only gotten one or two that way in the entire time we've had that email address, specifically for this purpose. But we get a lot of questions on Facebook and on Twitter. So Lorelei thought, or was it Peaches who thought, or was it Bob who thought? Well, anyway, I thought it would be a good idea to just go through some of these questions that we got over the last month. I made the question. Hi, sweetheart. That's a salamander. You can come over here. Sal, you can come over here if you want. Come here, boy. Come on. Well, come on. You can get over here. I know you can. Come here. Well, come here. Well, come on. Well, hello. Come over here. So, it'll probably be like last time. I'll have to go get him because he's not going to tolerate this whole situation without being here, but he won't come over on I'd be willing to bet. That's a beautiful sound, big boy. Beautiful sound. Makes me feel like I'm, in the jungle somewhere. Yeah, good boy. So I tallied them up and shortened them and took out any anything that might relate to the person. I'm going to use first name. I'm going to use first names only. And I don't think Mander is one of the questions. No. Nor is he a questioner. I know. You did this last time. And I had to go get you. I know. Those are pretty sounds, though. Yes, they are. I distilled the questions down to just their basics, leaving out any identifiers. So. Shh. And then what I did, this is going to be fun. Gosh. They're just cameras. I put them in here, which Bob likes to attack me whenever I go in here. And I'm just going to reach in and grab a question and see what it has to say here. What is the most important thing? You guys, you're all fired up tonight. What is the most You put a clamp on it. I'll put a sock in your face. What is the most important thing in training parrots? Mandy. Hey, what are you doing, Bob? Come here. What is the most important thing? What is the most important thing in training parrots? It might be putting a muzzle on them. No. The most important thing is perspective. The first thing you have to do is get out of the mindset that you already know what their behavior means. That's where we have the video on labeling. That's the most important thing you have to get over. And there was a similar question out on YouTube. Someone had they were saying that, well, isn't it true that having experience with birds is just as important as book learning and learning from the experts? And I have to say no to that. Imagine that you're watching the sun as it rises up over the horizon, right? But you don't know that it's actually the Earth turning. So you notice that about the same time every day, the sun comes up. And you come up with a theory that the sun is a chariot that's moving through the sky, okay? You could come up with a theory like that because you don't really know the science behind it. The same thing with if you drop an object and it falls to the ground. If you notice that and you see it happen, you see that you pick up a ball and you drop it and see it falls to the ground. You pick up another object and see it falls to the ground. You can come up with a theory about why it's falling to the ground. Who knows what you might come up with. You might say that there are gods pulling it down, or that there is some kind of magic force pulling it down. But since you don't know the science behind it, you're going to make observations that won't tie to reality. You're going to make guesses that will be wrong. And the point of science is it's a methodology where we can bypass the natural human tendency to do this, which is to make snap judgments and come up with ideas that are just wrong. Okay? I mentioned this for one good one is the whole idea of dominance. There was one person who is well known in the bird community, or at least has been, and written books, in fact, who still is espousing this idea of dominance. We know, as a fact, there is no dominance. There isn't a pecking order. If you have a large flock of birds, there isn't one alpha bird. That's mammal behavior. or chicken behavior, but it's not parrot behavior, okay? Parrots don't behave that way. What are you doing down there, Snowball? You just want to get him, don't you? Leave him alone. That's a salamander. Leave him alone. You've got to be nice. Okay? So the most important thing is your perspective, and you have to approach training from a scientific viewpoint. What techniques have been developed and that work, and why do they work? Understanding the principles behind those, and understanding that we have to observe behavior, not what we think of behavior. It's not a mean bird. It's a bird that is exhibiting behavior such as lunging or biting, but it's not a mean bird. That's a label we're putting on something. The behavior is lunging, the behavior is biting. It's not a bird that's afraid, it's a bird that is turning and flying away, or a bird that's turning and walking to the end of the perch. A bird that's turning and walking away from you to the end of the perch. So that's the most important thing in training, is getting that down. Once you understand that you have to use proven techniques that have been proven through science, and that you need to observe behavior, not form ideas about what you think the behavior is, or a pattern of behavior, but actually observe behavior. That's the key thing to being able to train.
Peaches is an amazing personality. Her daily maintenance requires dedication and mindfulness. She requires 2 forms of medicine, 7-course meals, and effort to entice her to eat. Extensive preening every day, special tools to trim nails, constant attention to her vocalizations, daily walks, and twice yearly checkups due to the possibility of impacted feather follicles and the nature of her spinal injuries. It seems a common misconception among the general public that parrots are like toys in a toy box. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are complex creatures. Recently, scientific studies have shown them to be at least as intelligent as chimpanzees. Every captive parrot needs special humans who will dedicate themselves to understanding them, those who know their species as it lives in the wild. Special people that understand their social, mental, and physical needs. They need to be understood for what they are, and not as merely human companions, as circus performers to bring smiles. Peaches needs all this and more. She is our special girl. Will you help us care for Peaches? Please make a donation today at our website, chloesanctuary.org. That's spelled CHLOESANCTUARY.org. As a special thank you for your donation, we will joyfully send you a postcard with Peach's happy face.
Now I have a bunch of birds here, and I knew this was going to happen to me, and I can't get into this to get Peaches. Would you sit over here for a second, sweetheart? I love having you. Bob, that's not where I want you to be. Bob, I've got to reach in here and grab a piece of paper out of this bucket. This is obviously not going to be the best way to do this, but Bob, yes, Babaloo. Okay, the next question is from Jody. It's, our Amazon just bites me for no reason. What do I do? Well, actually, birds don't bite for no reason. There is always a reason for what they do. And just as there is with us, there's always a reason. So, for example, one lady I knew had a bird that started biting, and a month or so later, it died. It was sick, and so it was pushing everyone away. That happens, okay? But all the behaviors that you see in a bird are seeking a particular result. In other words, behavior, what you see as behavior, is a function of its consequences. If a bird is trying to be social, wants to be social with you, but you're not behaving the way it expects, and it doesn't consider, we don't know what they're thinking in their head, but if it's not what it wants, it's not the kind of social behavior, it's going to react. Now, for example, if a bird bites you and if you put it away, no, we're not doing that. Wrong species. No, wrong species, okay? So if a bird bites you and you put it back in its cage and you think it's a punishment, but to the bird wanted to go back to its cage to get something to eat, the next time it wants to go back to eat, the likelihood of it biting you to get back to the cage is higher. So they always do things for a reason. Nothing ever comes out of the blue. And the trick there is to try to trace down what the consequence is that the bird wants. What result is the bird shooting for? Once you know that, then you can twist it around and if you can fulfill that need some other way, then you can get rid of the one behavior. So if a bird wants to go back to its cage and it bites you, you're going to replace the biting behavior with something else. Maybe the bird makes a sound, or the bird points itself towards its cage, or some other behavior you're going to shoot for, and you're going to use your training to get another behavior to replace it. So it's no longer biting, it's something else. And the other part of the question is, what do I do? So what you need to do is study reward training and then study the nature of parrots in detail so you know what they might be looking for and you can change the behavior. To be able to change it, you have to have some basic tools. Reward training, a little more than that, applied behavior analysis, where we have 4 different tools in our toolkit. A few more, but the 4 basic tools, okay? And if you understand the species, what they need, and what their behaviors are, those 2 things together should solve your problem. What are you doing down there? Bob, I need to get back in here. Yes, I know. No. We're not going to eat the bucket. No, Bob. Get your little face out. Get your toes out of there. I don't want to squish your toes. Scoot. Thank you. Now, back up here, boy. All right. I should have taken out more pieces of paper. I think I'm going to grab a handful next time. That's not easy to get in there, is it? This shows that whenever you're trying to do something and you have something new that you're introducing, such as I have a bucket in there with little pieces of paper, they get interested, they try to get involved. That's the way it works. What pellets do you use? That question is from Jillian. I use Rowdy Bush. That's our primary pellet. I think that Harrison's is a better quality product, although Rowdy Bush is excellent. I think Harrison's is a step above, but I don't think it's worth, when you have as many birds as we do, making the jump from $50 a 25-pound bag to $125 a 25-pound bag. So, whereas I would love to be able to do that, there is no way I can afford it. Now, we do have 3 birds here. Bob and Roman and Lucy were in a place where they were eating where they were eating Harrison's. Lorelei, you're getting just like Coco. And we use the Rowdy Bush to make the mash too. So what I do is I take roughly 3 cups of the Rowdy Bush and I mix and I soften it up and I put it into a food processor. I mix it with bananas, applesauce, and then it goes into our mash. And that way I know that nutrition, which has been proven, which is scientifically formulated, gets into their diet. And because it forms a kind of gravy over their food, they get it in every bite. Don't you? Even when you eat corn, right, Bob? Even when you eat corn. What do you say, Lorelei? That was an easy question. Let's see what else we got in here. Lorelei, don't eat that. No button. What wood should I use to make toys? Where do you buy your power tools? Well, Cynthia managed to get 2 questions in there, but it all has to do with making toys. What we do is we buy the white wood from Home Depot. It has very little residual chemical. There's going to be chemical in all the wood that you buy. And I know that some people have said, well, you know, buying wood from such a place as Home Depot, you're going to get chemicals. You're going to get chemicals everywhere. If you have untreated wood, it's a much greater danger because that can have all kinds of nasty stuff in it. Mold, bacteria, who knows what it's in there. But once it's been partially treated, like white wood, you've knocked out a lot of that. There is going to be some chemical residue in all wood that you buy. The only way these guys are going to get wood that doesn't have chemical residue is if you happen to have trees outside that haven't been sprayed with anything growing in your yard and you've never put any poison around the trees. That's about the only way that's going to happen. So again, white wood from Home Depot is what we buy, and then we cut it up into squares and triangles and other shapes, parallelograms, and drill a 3/8 hole down the middle, and then string that on chain or leather or that kind of thing. Where do you buy your power tools? The majority of our power tools we buy at Harbor Freight. Their freight charge is ridiculously low. We just got a miter saw someone bought for us, and it was heavy. Came in a huge box. I thought, oh my word, we don't even have room for this in our shop. At least it didn't look that way. Once you took all the packing off, it fit on our workbench. But I know, Lorelai, I know. So that's where we go, Harbor Freight. Next question. Oh, you're not going to eat my pocket. You're not going to eat my pocket. It is ignorance of Bob's nature that turned Babaloo into a living gargoyle. Bob's would-be parents made a hasty choice and found themselves in living hell, torn between guilt and frustration. I have seen the joy in Babaloo's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babaloo love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation. My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually Babaloo will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day. His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babaloo a hand and donate to his medical fund today? This is from Shelli, which is the most lovable cockatoo at the Chloe Sanctuary. Well, Peaches, come here. There's a question. Well, I always feel like I'm put between a rock and a hard place when I answer a question like this. I think they're all lovable. Coco is lovable. She's sweet. She follows me around like a puppy dog, don't you? Yeah, I'm the sweet girl. Bob is lovable, aren't you, Bob? Yeah. Don't regurgitate for me. I'm just petting you on the head. Peaches is lovable. Roman says, I love you. And love, 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 love. And he snuggles with you. He doesn't like to come out of his cage right now. We're still dealing with his phobic issues, but he's gotten a lot better. He's now eating right out of my hand. He's fine with every other part of my body, but since I put a towel on him so I could give him medicine, he just doesn't trust my hands as much. So he's overcoming it, and but he's lovable. He's a real sweetheart. This one's lovable, aren't you, Laura? This one flies up and stays on my shoulder, don't you? You just hang out on my shoulder all the time. It's like being an aircraft carrier. You just feel that jet land on you, boom, and stop, right? Just like she ran into the wire. That's one. Yeah, that's a lovable girl. The truth is, they're all lovable. They all have wonderful qualities. I couldn't point my finger to one of them and say, this is the most lovable bird. I would say that Peaches is probably the most loved out on the internet. But as far as how I feel, I think they're all lovable. Next question. You gonna fight me for this one, Lorelai? Yes, I know. You're gonna fight me for it. You have a lot of birds there. How long does it take you to clean up every day? And how long is your day? Well, how long is my day is easy. 18 hours. I get up about 3.5 hours before they do and cook their breakfast and arrange their medicines that they have and get everything set up. I do the cleaning the night before for the main bird room. In the morning it's about 2 hours of cleaning, and that cleaning actually happens after they're up for their breakfast. I go back into the sleeping room, clean that up, and then the vacuuming and that kind of thing. And at night the cleanup takes about 2 hours. So it's about 4 hours of cleaning a day, between 4 and 5 depending on what I have to do, because you got to scrub individual cages down heavy too. You got to rotate through all of them and do your basic cleaning, but also go through and clean under all the grates and all that, so that adds to it. So between 4 and 5 hours a day. You want to fight me for another one? You gonna fight me for another one, Lorelai? You gonna fight me for another one? Okay. Oh, who is your favorite bird? Peaches? No, as I said before, I don't really have a favorite bird. I have Chloe. She's been with me the longest. Haven't you, Chloe? I love that little Chloe bird. But I don't really have a favorite. I love them all equally. I would say Lucy is the one I'm getting used to. So I don't have a strong relationship with her yet, and I've been putting her on medicine for a while. She had to have amoxicillin. Then she had to have gentamicin put into her nares, and then she had to have bacitracin 10% dilute solution shoved through her nares. So it's going to take a little while to establish a strong relationship with her, just because I've had to manhandle her. She's been good about it. She doesn't like it, but she's been good about it. I've also had to give her mash, blended mash, twice a day, because she's not holding her weight the way I'd like to see. Part of that's the change in environment. Part of it is probably the fact that she was on amoxicillin. She seems to have come through it. She's not sneezing anymore. All those other problems that she had are gone. Bob's eye isn't swollen anymore. So far, so good. Right? Had a lot of sickness around here. But my favorite, don't have one. What books do you recommend? Well, if you're just getting involved, probably the Parrots for Dummies is the first book to read. Then I would say Don't Shoot the Dog would be next. That will give you an idea about what reward training is all about. And training isn't just so that you can have a bird that does tricks, okay? It's just like saying, well, I've got a pretty smart kid. He can add, he can add 2 columns and come up with the right answer. Okay, well, obviously that's a trick. You could call it a trick, but actually your child has been trained to do mathematics. With these guys, we train them in basic behaviors, like how to act at a veterinarian, so that if you lift a wing, the wing will come up. And if you want to flip them over, you can. Lorelai, I'm not going to do that to you, but I could flip you over, right? Yeah, all these birds can be flipped over. And so you teach them their veterinary behaviors. You teach them to step up, teach them to target, so you can move them around by just moving your hands around. The next books, these are a little high-minded. I mean, they're technical, but you should have them. If you want this, you can have it. The Manual of Parrot Behavior by Lusher. That's a critical book because it takes you from egg to old age. Okay, it takes you all the way through. You can see everything and look at how to deal with problems, how to assess problems. It has charts in it. It has forms that you can fill out. You know, photocopy them and fill them out so that you can analyze what's going on with your bird. Excellent book. And then the Basaba Manual, the British Small Animal Association book. The Basaba Manual for Citizen Birds. That gives you the basics so that you know how to diagnose problems. And that doesn't mean you don't go to a vet, but if for example, and you should read it too to understand what's going on before something happens, but if you got a problem and it's Saturday night at 8 o'clock and you can't get to a vet, that book can help you understand it and possibly save your bird's life. So having it around isn't really optional. There are other books on first aid, but they don't come anywhere close to the Basaba Manual explaining how things work. If you know how things work, you can often treat them. The best first aid book, though, it really isn't a book. The best first aid DVD that you can get is the first aid DVD from the Birdie Boutique from Dr. Burkett. Excellent. If you have that DVD, you watch it, and no, you're not going to turn your tail to Bob. You're not. Stop that. No, you're not. And Bob, you're not going to do that. So if you have that DVD on first aid and those other 5 books, you've got a good start to your library. There are other things you will want to add, like Paul Chance's Learning and Behavior, which is a college text on behavior science, on applied behavior analysis. I recommend that too. These are not easy reading books, but I think they're essential. You might as well get to the tofu of the matter instead of just, you know, the watered down soy milk. All right. The question was from Isabella. I don't know if I mentioned her name. Lorelei, you always have to get involved, don't you? I want to fly my bird outside. Any hints? Well, if you can get to a place where you can do training, there's one up in Washington, I believe. There's another somewhere in the Midwest, but they have like a 2-week training. You take your bird there. They have long flight cages, and you can train your bird for a free flight. That's the best way. If you can't do that, get them into an aviator harness. Don't use any other harness. I don't know of any other harness that's any good. Get them into an aviator harness, take them outside, and just put them on a perch just right in front of you and have them hop over to your hand. And just keep moving the perch further and further away. Use a treat, something they like, and get them to fly over to you. You get little hops until they finally start flying the full length of the aviator harness, which is 6 feet. So they'll start flying that 6-foot distance, and then eventually you can fly them around in circles on the aviator harness. They also have an extension for that so that you can fly them longer. I don't remember how long that is. I think it's a 10-foot extension. So if you wanted to fly your bird farther, key to this, there are hawks. Be sure that you're aware of what's going on. These guys can usually tell you. If you see your bird kick its eyes up like that, that usually means there's a hawk up there. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. Their vision is so much better than ours. We do have a video about that, but their vision is so much better than ours. In fact, if you look under the outside of the eye that you see here is just a small tip of the iceberg. It's a huge ball under there with a tremendous amount of capability. The reason her eyes look like they're bulging is because there literally is an eyeball that's huge under there, okay? Right? Right, Peach? I don't want my bird to get away. Why don't you clip wings? How do you keep them safe? That's from Kayla. Well, most birds that get away are clipped. That's the fact of the matter. Because clipping does not make it so your bird can't fly. If there's no air moving outside, there's no wind, then they might not be able to get very far. But one thing's for sure, they won't be able to fly down to you. And if they're not trained to fly, innately they have the ability to fly. That doesn't mean they're going to do it. I've seen birds that don't fly normally just take off and fly if they're scared, and then land somewhere and look around like, wow, how'd I get here? They don't even realize that they have the capability most of the time. So if you teach them, if you take them outside watching for the hawks and you teach them to fly, anyway, if you teach them that and then take them on walks around the neighborhood so they know where everything is, and they're capable of flying, you know, the odds are they're going to come back to you. If you train them to come to you when you call them, like with Lorelei, if I say Lorelei and put my arm up, she'll fly over to me. So she was the first one I taught to do that recall where you call them and they come back to you. So as far as getting away, they can still get away when they're clipped, just like a dog could still get away if you were to cut their Achilles tendon, so that you hobbled them and they had to drag their hind legs behind them. And I know it sounds like an extreme example, but it really isn't, because these guys have the capability to fly around, and if you make it so that all they can do is walk around and they can't fly, it's like hobbling a dog. So that dog could still get away from you, the bird can still get away from you. And besides, if it's on the ground and it gets outside, can't fly, it's game for any dog or cat that attacks it because it can't fly away. So we keep them safe by, we have the main bird room. Nobody comes in that room, the front room. Our main bird room is the front room, so that front door doesn't get opened. The buffer zone is the kitchen. So if there's a bird in the kitchen that can fly, some of these birds are damaged and can't fly, like salamander, he has a twisted pelvis. What are you doing up there? You better leave him alone, okay? Yeah, that's a good boy. So if there's a bird in there that can fly, we don't open the kitchen door. So if you've got a lot of kids or whatever, and they swing in the doors open all the time, you got a problem. That the bird could get out. If the bird's loose in the room and the door gets opened, that's not going to work. You need to have a buffer zone. If you can't do the buffer zone, then you'll either have to clip the bird's wings, or you'll have to come up with some kind of rules and put locks that can't be unlocked. You know, like you can put a latch across the door where the kids can't reach it up at the top, so they can't open the door, they can't get out. Find some way to make it so the door can't be opened. If the bird's recall trained, it's not that big a deal, because if they did get out, they're coming back. But and you can find out about training your birds to fly, to be able to fly free, on a Yahoo group called Free Flight. You don't adopt out birds. Why, Leonard? We tried. In the beginning, we tried the rescue thing. We discovered that most people were just trying to get a bird for less money. When we explained to them that they needed to take a class, we weren't even charging for the classes, that they had to take a class to understand how to train birds and to understand something about them, they didn't want to do it. They used every excuse. What's going on down there? Who's here? Who are you? Oh. And you can't be down there. Yeah, I thought so. They get all bunched up and it's hard to see who they are until you see their faces. You know, you're not getting down there with a male. You two females can sit there. So they were looking for a bird they could get for less money. That was the key. They wanted to get one quickly, and we slowed that process down. They had to come and see the bird 3 times. We had to make sure that the bird actually liked them first. And then the other thing that happened was we would adopt out birds, and then the majority of them came back. And when they came back, they were more screwed up than when we got them. So the board and I decided that this was not going to work. We have a small facility anyway. We'll just bring in damaged birds, ones that are severely damaged, and care for them for the rest of their lives. It was easy to do because, of course, what we had ended up with at that time was the birds who were most severely damaged, right? That's like Sugar. She looks wonderful. I mean, she looks perfectly fine, but take her off the medicine and don't give her the right care, the right toys, and the right environment, then she's going to fall right back into her old ways and probably be dead within a couple of weeks because she used to break her feathers off and nearly bleed to death. So that's why we don't do it. We have a small facility and we want to take care of birds that are severely damaged, and the best way to do that is to keep them for life. Would you mind? You can't. Well, I know you're a baby girl, but you don't need a baby girl. He's so cute. This is from. This is from Tyler. I want to start a parrot rescue. What are the most important things I should do? First thing, see if you can find the organization SCORE or any other organization of retired people who've done business before, and take a class on how to form a nonprofit. Listen to what they say and follow their directions, okay? I was told when I took the class at SCORE that you need multiple sources of credit. So you need as many credit cards as you can get. I was also told that by my trainer at Fran Cannon. He said, get as many credit cards as you can. Use them for all your basic stuff, pay them off every month, and if something goes wrong, you've got the credit lines. We wouldn't even be here if I hadn't done that. So SCORE told me that. Fran Cannon beat that into my head, and it has really made it so that we can survive. It hasn't made it so that my credit is very good. I mean, I have lots of credit, but I'm run up way too high. These guys need something, and I just use it, and that's the way it's going to work. So one of the most important things is find out how to do it from SCORE, follow their rules. They said file it yourself, file for your 501c3 yourself. I did. They said because that way you'll know what you're doing, so you won't screw up. You'll know where if you make a mistake here or there. Some of these mistakes are pretty big. You can lose your nonprofit status. So talk to SCORE, build up some credit, make sure you have enough credit. Be willing. If you're not willing to, dig into your own pocket, it's not going to run. You have to be that dedicated. And then talk to other rescues. Ask them how to do it. You can get the NOLO Press book. How to form a nonprofit. And if you're in California, they have a special one, so be alerted to that. California has its own special nonprofit that you have to do. And be sure that you have some background in how to train these guys. If you don't feel comfortable sitting in a room of birds like this, then it's going to be hard to run a sanctuary. You're going to have a bunch of birds stuck in cages all the time, and they're not going to get out and get what they need. And if you have a bird that for some reason stays there for a long time and doesn't get the socialization it needs, then you're going to have a bird that's not going to do well, and then you're not really helping, right? So get as much training as you can in bird training, and check with SCORE. And get that NOLO Press book so you have an idea where you're headed. Oh, the other thing that's important, you're going to have a business plan. So you're going to need to get business plan software and fill it all out so you know where you're going, what your goals are, what your mission statement is, all that kind of stuff. And then network with people who are already doing it. Lorelei, you can have the used paper. Why do you have to get the ones I'm pulling out of my pocket? Why? We hope you will consider supporting us on Patreon today. We produce up to 2 videos a month. As a patron, you pledge to give us a donation, whatever you feel is right and meets your budget. Patreon gives us your gift monthly. You can easily set a limit on how much you donate a month. You can change the amount of your pledge at any time. Your gift will allow us to continue bringing you entertaining and informative videos. Patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary. We look forward to your participation in Cockatude. This is from Vern. What temperatures are safe for parrots? Now, you'll hear a lot of talk and you'll hear a lot of different opinions on this one. But the rule I go for is that I don't let the birds anywhere less than 45 degrees. That's the bottom line, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and nothing above 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Another rule of thumb I call the 15-degree rule. If it's 70 degrees inside, you don't want to take your bird into something that is 55 degrees outside, lower than 55. So, in other words, you don't want to spread. Hi there, beautiful. Hi, Coco. I said spread and you put your wings out. Very good. Their lungs are very sensitive, so a big shift in temperature can be a problem. So I use the 15-degree rule. So if you were going to take birds out when it's 50 degrees outside, you'd want to get the temperature inside slowly down to, you'd want to get it down to 65 for a little while before you take it out. This is a bare minimum. Now, too, the birds that are like the umbrellas and the Moluccans come from an area where it's equatorial. They're built to handle the higher temperatures, lower temperatures. Bodies are less likely to be able to handle. The other thing too is if you have a bird like Lucy has no feathers on her chest, and she's pulled them for so long now, she's probably not going to get them back. They're just not going to grow. She needs to be in a room that's kept warm. So we never want her room to go below 70. So warmer would be better, but it's hard to keep a place at 75 or 80. But we would if we had to, but I think 70 will be safe for her. You want to fight me for another one? You want to fight me for? I'm just reaching in to try to get one. My bird. My bird screeches all day. What can I do? Well, they have a reason for screaming. There's something they're missing. I say it's a broken call. That's what I usually say. They try to communicate. They try to get what they want. They can't get it, and eventually they just scream. It's kind of like when you get so frustrated you beat your head against the wall, and that's kind of what it is for them. So, reward training. Learn how to do reward training. You can go to behaviorworks.org and you can find out a lot about that there. You can get Paul Chance's Learning and Behavior, and you can learn quite a bit from that. That's got every technique in it. It's designed, the book's designed for humans, but it's the same principle. You can take Dr. Friedman's Learning and Living with Animals course, but that's for like veterinarians and people of that level, so you'll have to convince her that you can handle the course. It's pretty intense. But the main thing is you need to learn some training. If you have a behaviorist in your neighborhood, somewhere close, who can come out and help you, that will be good, because they can show you what you need to do and they can teach you some basic things. Usually it's replacement behavior. You find something other than the screaming that you're going to pay attention to them when they do it every time, and when they scream you're going to ignore it. Don't ignore the screaming. Don't just ignore the screaming and do nothing else. Because that's like saying, hey Fred, when Fred's walking across the street, he doesn't hear you. You say, hey Fred, he still doesn't hear you. Hey Fred, you're yelling at the top of your voice. And then Fred turns around. The next time Fred's crossing the street, you're probably not going to go, hey Fred. You're going to go louder, right? And that's what happens. You teach them to get louder, so be careful with that. Lorelai, you're not doing your job. And I'm reaching into the wrong pocket, and you're not doing your job. Yes, fighting me so I can't get into my pocket is your job. That's your job. And you're not going to take, you're trying to take that off, aren't you? I think you did. You're such a silly bird. Does the length of day affect mating behavior? I've heard that it does. Yes and no. If you have a bird that's comes in old world parrot that comes from Africa, where they do have longer days and shorter nights and shorter days and longer nights, depending on the season, yes, it does. There's no question about it. If your bird is from Indonesia, no, it doesn't, because they don't have longer days. Their days are always the same. 6 hours, it's 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark. There may be a few minutes difference from time to time, but they're equatorial. So, yes and no. If they're from the equator area, no. If they're from, from Australia, or they're from, no, you're not moving back there. If they're from Australia, or they're from Africa, yes. Thank you. You want to steal one? I don't know which one I'm getting. You're a silly girl. This is from Jeff. Did you grow up with parrots? What made you decide to work with them? Okay, that's 2 questions, but we can do it. No, I didn't grow up with parrots. My mother had budgergars. She had one budgergar after another. They lived for a couple of years, and then she'd replace them. Everyone was named Buddy. She did have an African gray for a short period of time, but she had no clue what to do with it. So no, I didn't. I was interested in learning about them, and I was reading the Parrots for Dummies, and I found an ad, basically, on the internet for a bird that needed to be rehomed that weekend, and I got Chloe. And from there, this was back in 2007, I realized that I didn't know a darn thing. I hadn't really planned on getting one, but I didn't want some bird to be just dumped and they couldn't find a place, so I drove an hour and brought her back, and every day I realized just how little I knew. So I took the course with Dr. Friedman, and then I just started studying on my own. I took a class on their biology and behavior as well. And over time, I just learned more and more about them. I learned by reading and by studying, and then applying what I've learned. I don't just say, oh, I've seen this, therefore it's this. I always look to see what the behaviorists and the biologists have to say about the behavior and match that up with what I think I'm seeing. Just like, is the sun rising over the horizon, or is the earth turning? Well, it looks like the sun's rising, but I try to always confirm that what I think I see is actually what I'm seeing. We humans we delude ourselves all the time, and a lot of people think they understand birds. For example, I had one lady who wanted to adopt back when we did it, and I said, well, you need to take some classes to learn about parrots and parrot behavior, and if you're interested in adopting a bird, then once you've gone through that process, you need to take these classes. And she said, well, I've had an African gray for 8 years, so I know everything I need to know. I said, no. I've been driving cars since I was 18 years old, but that doesn't make me an auto mechanic. Right? I know enough to drive a car, but if the car is having engine trouble, well, you go to a professional. So I decided to work with them. I decided to work with them because I knew a bird that needed a home, so I tried to look around and find a sanctuary, and there wasn't one. And the more I looked around, the less that I realized was available. There was misunderstanding all over the place, and there wasn't any place in North County where somebody could learn about birds. So Chloe and I spent a whole weekend writing up 5 pounds of paper to send to the IRS and the state of California. You want us to leave that alone for just a second, you little monster? Why did you decide to work with cockatoos and not parrots? That's from Jeff. I didn't decide. I got Chloe, and then somebody said, "Oh, you've got a cockatoo. I have a cockatoo. I need to get rid of. You want to take this cockatoo?" And before long, it was Cockatoo City. It was Cockatoo City. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah? Okay. You guys have a powwow. We've had parrots. We had Murray. She was an African gray. And then we had a yellow-crowned Amazon. And then in fostering, we had baraband parakeets and Alexandrins and macaws. But mostly I've had cockatoos, because that's kind of how it started. Why do you feed them cooked mash? They don't eat it in the wild. That's from Liam. Bob. Well, actually, they do eat processed food in the wild. It's called regurgitation, and they do feed each other that way. So they are used to warm food. They do that. They also have food that is sun-warmed. And so they do actually do that. But the reason I do that is because if I don't give them something that has the actual pellets mixed in with it, then I'm guessing what's good for them, and I don't want to do that. So to get them to eat more of the pellets, I mix it in with vegetables and fruit and fiber, like oat fiber. So what that does is it gives them the fiber inside to help them pass their food, so they don't. We hope they won't get cloacal prolapse, or within Bob's case, it's to mitigate his problem with the prolapse. And they enjoy it. They look for their mash every morning. Took a while for them to enjoy it, but the fact that the food that they're eating with the little pieces of corn and other vegetables and that kind of thing gets them to eat the gravy, which the gravy really isn't gravy, but it looks like gravy. Actually has the pellets that they need with all the essential things to their diet. So. And Caitlin says, why did you start a sanctuary? I think I've already covered that. Started it because there wasn't one available in North County, San Diego. So I realized that there was a need, so Chloe and I started it, didn't we, Chloe? Didn't we, Chloe? Where can I learn to train birds online? Books. Okay, we've kind of talked about that. The book is the book by Paul Chance. Learning and Behavior. Also, Don't Shoot the Dog. And if you want to learn online, that would be, if you can handle a college level course, that would be Learning and Living with Animals is the name of the course. And it's available at behaviorworks.org. Also, Dr. Friedman does travel around, and so does Barbara Heidenreich. And they have classes. They go from place to place and teach seminars on how to train. So that's a good place to go as well. That's from Emma, by the way, that question. You make videos. What got you started, Mark? Actually, one lady who's a friend of the president of the board asked me if I would start making a few videos. You know, that she thought that would be the thing to do. And Shelli said, "Why don't you make videos to teach people what you know?" And so I sat back and thought about it and said, well, what am I going to talk about? Well, the first thing I needed to do is to describe each of these birds so that if something happened to me, there would be some record so that they could be cared for. So that seemed like the way to start. So the first videos were about the birds, each of the birds that live with us, and their particular problems and their needs. Then I did interviews with Dr. Jenkins, and those were the next videos. And then I just started going from one subject to the next. I just when I get done doing one, I start thinking about what can I do on the next one. And it's been going like that now for 2 years and more. So another thing that the reason I made videos is I remember there was a lady who worked for a foundation who was telling someone that, oh well, you don't want to start a rescue, because if you do, she was talking about a dog rescue, because if you start one, what will happen is you'll end up with a whole bunch of dogs and you'll be just overloaded and you're going to just end up filing bankruptcy. You just won't have any time to help anyone or anything if you do it. I thought that was an odd thing for someone from a foundation that's supposed to be supporting rescues to say. And then when I started making these videos, I realized that, wait a minute, I can actually do something. I can reach out and help the community. Something someone said that couldn't be done. So it helped to motivate me. I was already doing them I was into like episode 15 before I remembered that, and it became a motivation. But it's really helped me to keep going. Lorelei, please don't eat my clothing. Thank you. What is a good starter bird? Tyler asked that question. There is no starter bird, and actually, what Chloe was called by the couple I got her from, they called her a starter bird. Oh, she'll make a great starter bird for you. There is no such thing. If you get a bird, you should think of it as a bird you're going to have for life, someone that's going to be your companion for life, no matter what happens. And yeah, there are no starter birds. So if you get a bird, you get a cockatoo or a parakeet, you should treat it with the same respect and care that you would take for peaches. But a peach, right, Peach? What do you think? Am I right? Sam? Okay. So there are no starter birds. Mark says, do you feed treats? Which ones? Yeah, they get little papaya, pine nuts, banana chips. Now, they don't get a lot of this. Their main thing is the pellets, but they get little treats. They get some sunflower seed. It's not as bad as everyone says. It's like peanut. It's like a Snickers bar. If you eat one Snickers bar a month, it isn't really going to hurt you. If you're eating them every day, all day long, it's not going to be good for you. So yes, we do feed treats. We have Cecil and salamander like walnuts. Got to be careful with walnuts to make sure they're fresh, because like any nut, you can get mold inside the shell, and that can be a problem. There can be disease in there, so you have to be careful. But yeah, and then the other thing we use treats for, now for example, right now with Roman, he loves sunflower seeds, and he got 4 in his bowl. Now he gets none in his bowl, and the only way he gets them is to eat them out of my hand, because he was afraid of my hands. Now I put my fingers up there like that with the sunflower seed, and he takes it. Then I grab another one, and while he's eating it, I hold it right under his beak. Didn't start that way. It started as, here's the sunflower seed, take it, pull my hand back. That's how it started. But now he gets the sunflower seed, and then I get another one, immediately put it up there. So eventually he'll be taking them out of the center of my hand. So the treats are used for something else as rewards and training as well. Last question is, outside aviaries, how can I make a safe one? Alan. You can find plans on the web for building aviaries, but here's the thing to remember. You want some kind of screen to go over the top outside of the aviary itself, because if your bird is hanging from the top, there's a possibility a hawk can land and bite their feet. That won't be good, okay? The other thing is you want it on some kind of a concrete base, because you do not want burrowing animals to come up and get your bird. So you don't want any burrowing animals to come through. You got to make sure that it's secure, that so animals can't get into it. Then you got to make, if you follow the plans that you can find online, make sure you're using safe materials to make it. Obviously, you're not going to use wood to build it because they eat wood. But you can find those plans online how to build them. And a lot of them go through details, and I'll try to put that up on our show notes, details on how to make them safe. And that is the last of our questions. I'm out of questions, so what do you say? He says, what do you say? You've been sitting here on me all this time. You say put on a movie? Well, we'll do that when we're done, okay? It just takes a second to tear all these cameras down, and then we'll watch a movie, okay? All right, Sal, you ready for a movie? Bob, do you want to say goodbye? We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @ChloeSanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
We're going to say goodbye to the people. Say goodbye to our viewers. Come on, Bob, you can say goodbye. We'll see you next time.